We're going to call the regular council meeting to order. We're going to start off with Mr. Ken Dawson leading us in the prayer, followed by the pledge. Let it be known, Madam Secretary, that Travis Turner and Randy is out tonight. Randy's out with work.
Let us pray. Father, as we come tonight, again, we give you praise and glory for all the blessings you bestowed upon us. But we come with heavy hearts in recognition of Enil Spano, and we ask, oh God, that you minister unto his family, that you touch their hearts, oh God, and heal them of any hurt and pain, which we all know that you're the one that can do it. As we come to this meeting tonight, we ask for your wisdom in doing the people's business. We thank you, oh God, for the unity that you created in this parish, council, administration, and the people to go toward a goal that you've established. To whom much is given, much is required, and we do not take the duties lightly. We give you all the glory and praise in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson. Chair's addition, I have one, not really an addition, but I want to recognize our fellow councilwoman for being the Influential Woman of the Year award. It's a pretty high award there, and congratulate you on that.
Thank you, Todd. If I may say something,
sure.
I'm more than shocked and humbled by this opportunity to represent St. Elizabeth Foundation at an amazing banquet that will be held, and for all the wonderful publicity that the Baton Rouge Business Report gave to my, wonderful little organization as we try to influence women in crisis pregnancies and help them to understand that adoption is the option they should look at, as opposed to abortion or parenting when they're not prepared. So what this really does for me and for St. Elizabeth Foundation is gives us that opportunity to expose the wonderful world of adoption. And I thank all of you for this recognition tonight. Thank you very much.
Awesome job. Yeah. We'll move on to public comment section. Anyone want to sign in to speak on the agenda items, please get with the Secretary, Cinnamon. You have your 3 minutes to speak on that agenda item. Have a presentation, proclamation to proclaim Men's Health Week in Ascension Parish, June 13th through the 19th, 2016. Robert Burgess, or Parish President.
Council, it's a proclamation to proclaim June 13th through 19th, 2016 as Men's Health Week in Ascension Parish. Whereas despite advances in medical technologies and research, men continue to live an average of 5 years less than women, and men die at a higher rate. I think we all know why, okay?
Watch it.
I'm sorry, Gary. Rates than the women. From the top 10 causes of death, there are victims over 92% of the workplace death, and whereas educating the public in health care, providing above the importance of healthy lifestyles and early detection of male health problems will result in reduced rates of mortality from diseases, and whereas men who are educated about the value of prevention of health will be more likely to participate in regular checkups and prevention of health screening, and whereas National Men's Health Week is a special campaign to help educate men and their families about the importance of positive health behaviors and preventative health care practices, and whereas because it is within St. Elizabeth's Hospital's mission to provide the health of the community through education, St. Elizabeth Hospital has chosen Ascension Parish to officially continue local efforts, and whereas citizens of Ascension Parish are encouraged to increase their awareness of the importance of the healthy lifestyles, regular exercise, and medical checkups. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed, I, Kenny Matassa, Parish President of Ascension, State of Louisiana, by virtue of authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim June 13th through 19th, 2016, National Men's Health Week. Mr. Robert? Let me just say, recently I've been using a lot of their services. I think they give excellent, and we're so lucky to have St. Elizabeth and Ascension Parish. We appreciate all that y'all do. Thank you.
Want to say a few words, Mr. Burke?
Thank you for this opportunity. The real reason men die early is because we're stubborn and we don't listen. Many of the diseases are silent killers that get to us, and we're going to talk about one of them on the 15th at our Men's Health Luncheon held at Park 73. Many of you were there last year, and we hope that you'll come and see us again at 12 o'clock. We're going to talk about prostate. None of us like to hear it. None of us like to be part of it. But it is the one cancer, one of the highest killers of men, that is curable. All we have to do is listen, and all we have to do is take care of ourselves. So please come and take care of us. And I would also like to thank our board chair and honor her for being Influential Woman of the Year. We're very fortunate not only to have Councilwoman Casso, but Stacy Chasson, who's also on our board, is also one of those women. So we're very fortunate. You've got great board governance that's taking care of your hospital. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Burge. We're going to move on to Parish President's report. Mr. Matassa.
I also want to congratulate Terry. In public, I've congratulated her before, but now she gets a double hit tonight because St. Elizabeth is on stage, and she's just doing a great job for Ascension Parish. Thank you. Tonight, I have just a couple things to say. As far as voting on Uber tonight, which would be a new business starting in Ascension Parish, and I think it'll be great for citizens besides putting a few people to work. Tonight I have Mr. Fournier with me, who is going to be our new planning and zoning, and he will start on the 15th, but I'm going to have him come up and just give you all the bio about him. Okay. Come on, Mr. Jerome Fournier.
Thank you, Mr. Matassa. My name is Jerome Fournier, and I'd been offered the position of Planning and Development Director for the parish, and I've accepted the position, and I look forward to starting on June 15th. Just a little bit about me. I grew up in Houma, graduated from Terrebonne High School way back. I don't want to tell you the year, but it was a long time ago. And I attended LSU for my undergraduate degree, and my graduate attended the graduate program there. And while there in Baton Rouge, I worked for a planning firm, and we did urban planning for a lot of the cities around the state. Along with, when I was a graduate student, worked with the Portsmouth Waterways Institute. When it was located there, it's presently located at UNO. They moved it. So did some port planning as well. In 1985, I moved to California, and for the last 30 years, I've been working as an urban planner and a public finance consultant in the California area, working throughout the state. And one of the things I worked with extensively back in that area was development impact fees and assisting public agencies to raise money to fund infrastructure. And I know that's a big issue for Ascension Parish. And with that, I'll leave it, and I look forward to working with each one of you. And I hope to take an opportunity once I get on the ground, get in the car, visit you, walk, kind of drive through your district, understand what the issues are there, and hopefully we can work up some mutual solutions to some of the problems that face Ascension Parish. So thank you very much. Again, I'm starting on the 15th. Doors are going to be open, and look forward to working with each and every one of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Joseph.
you have any questions?
Mr. Joseph has one on.
Sure.
I just wanted to welcome you aboard, sir, but
Thank
also I wanted to acknowledge about something else going on there,
Oh,
Mr.
okay,
Chairman.
okay,
I'm sorry.
okay.
Thank you. I was gonna-
Mr. Sally?
Yeah, we met in anti-chambers, Jerome, but
Yeah.
I wanted to do in public is to welcome you to Ascension Parish and to your new job. Looking forward to working with you and so forth, sir.
Thank you.
Just a preliminary question. I'm sure we'll see all this in your resume shortly. You have a degree, you said from LSU, an undergraduate degree?
I do.
What is that degree in, sir?
It's in geography.
In geography?
Yes.
Okay.
And interestingly enough, when I moved to California and started working in the urban planning field in California, I discovered that about 50% of the planners in California had a degree in geography. And I've noticed that a lot of that here as well, you
Yep.
know. And it brings some certain skills to the planning field, you know.
That doesn't
spatial
surprise
perception.
me, you know,
Yeah.
but the 30 years of public experience in urban planning is certainly impressive, and I'm glad to hear that. Maybe I'm hearing things I didn't hear. I did hear you're an expert in impact fees. The president's already indicated that to me in anti-chambers as well.
Yeah.
But hopefully you're a fan of the same as well.
I'm sorry.
A fan of impact fees. I think it's a.
I think they definitely have their place.
Sure would like to talk to you about that.
I would definitely like to have that discussion.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Any more questions?
Is there another question?
Parish President, you got something left on your report?
You can stay if you want, if you like. If you
I might
want to
stay
get
for a little
back.
bit, and then I'm
Okay.
gonna head back.
Before the weather's gonna get bad. The other position of planner, I decided not to move on that because I want to get Mr. Fournier in there and work with Lance and see what they actually need, and then we'll revisit the planner position. And that's all I have tonight. Mr. Joseph has something. I know it says June and Juneteenth's coming to Donaldsonville. Go ahead, Mr. Joseph.
Yes, this weekend is Juneteenth, on Saturday the 4th and 5th. It's going to be out right in front of the courthouse at Louisiana Square. And the weekend is fun of food, music. And if it rains, it will be moved to the Lemon Center, Donaldsonville Lemon Center by the fairground on Seaport Drive area. And I just wanted to let the public know that and invite every councilman and parish president. Please come by. Okay.
Thank you, Councilman Joseph. Madam Secretary, let know that Mr. Councilman Travis Turner made it. We'll move on to number 7, the consent agenda. Adopt a regular council meeting minutes of April 7th and April 21st.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Sadler, second by Councilman Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? So move. We'll move on to number 8, Ascension Economic Development Quarterly Update. Mr. Mike Eads.
Good evening. I'd like to thank you for letting us change from our regular schedule of addressing the Finance Committee to tonight. Unfortunately, one of our staff members was not going to be available on the 13th, namely me. So I appreciate you letting me do that. You have our summary report in front of you. Activity remains strong as far as people, companies looking around. As you can see, we got 24 projects looking at the parish in various stages. We've had 2 announcements so far this year, of course, being OxyChem and the Praxair announcements. We have 1 pending, which is not a large one, but has quite a number of jobs, about 45 or 50 jobs. This is a company that's already located in the region, but has exhausted their space in the community they're in and looking to relocate and expand, going to add about 10 people, but be about 50 or 60 new jobs to Ascension Parish. Focusing in on those projects we list as decision pending, you can see there's 7 of them. Unfortunately, if you look at the date on the project chart, that's the date listed with these projects or when they were initiated, probably catch your attention that 2 of those 7 were started in early 2014 and still haven't settled on what they're going to do, if anything. 2 of them were started in fairly early in 15 also.
So we're seeing a lot of delay in decision-making. I attribute that to a couple of things. One, although most of the projects we deal with in Ascension are natural gas focused, these companies have, almost without exception, have substantial positions in petroleum itself. And everybody knows what that situation is. I guess the analogy I like to use is the balloon has air in it, and if you let air out, the whole balloon gets smaller. And so available capital and that type of thing is constrained, and these decisions have been delayed, some on a continual basis, but we're still working with them. I think the other issue that we're certainly looking at is, the budget problems in the state of Louisiana, and how that's going to get fixed is an open question. I don't know if you saw a couple of weeks ago, I think it was the conference board or one of the other things where Louisiana's ranking as a place to do business went from 2015 to be 7th in the country to, in 2014, 7th in 2015 was 7th best in the country. 2016 was 34th in the minds of these corporate executives that were in that survey. So there's a lot of uncertainty out there, and uncertainty is not a good thing in our business. But anyway, we're still working away. Just a couple of things. We're in the process of totally rebuilding our website. We're almost finished with that. I think you'll be very proud of it, and we're going to be proud of it too. We will be doing again the joint training program in August with MBECA and SCORE and our small business partners, asking you to declare that week of August 15th, I think it is, a Small Business Power Week, to give some hands-on training to our small and emerging business people to help them grow and survive. The other thing is our board yesterday and previously at a meeting on May 10th has approved the addition of board members to AEDC. Specifically, there'll be one voting member representing the City of Gonzales. That would be appointed by the mayor with consent of City Council. There'll be one voting board member appointed by the Board of Directors of Donaldsonville Chamber from their business membership. We also are suggesting changing the term of the parish president's appointee, which is currently 3 years, to 4 years to coincide with the president's term of office. And then to add one voting, non-voting ex officio member from the Donaldsonville City Council and one voting, non-voting ex officio member from the town of Sorrento. Again, that was approved by our board. Those bylaws, our articles of bylaws amendment must be approved by you, ultimately, because you're the authority that created us, and those will come to you hopefully by the next meeting, if not the meeting after that. I want to make you aware of. That concludes my remarks, except to say that I'm certainly glad to see that our new planning director is a geographer, because I'm one too. So there is a conspiracy that we're going to take over the world, but we'll get to that at a later point. But anyway, I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Anyone have any questions from Steve? Stop.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mike. It's an outstanding job despite the difficult circumstances you described, sir. Just curious, and you may not be at liberty to tell us tonight, but Project Koala, medical supply manufacturer, that's at least public record. Can you tell us what kind of medical supplies they're thinking about manufacturing?
I'd rather not. I mean, if I told you, it would expose.
Okay, so you can't. I figured you couldn't, but I thought I'd try.
It's not a.
I'm excited about that because I don't think we have anything like that, do we?
No, it's not. It's not like a high-tech product. I'll be frank with you.
And how did you get these folks interested in Ascension Parish?
Well, actually, these people have some Ascension connections.
Okay.
And they, like I said, they're located in another parish.
Don't go further than you have to. Okay.
Yeah, I wish I could be more specific, but I can't at this stage.
Being you're a geologist, and our new director's a geologist. I'm an old biologist, so it's exciting to see we're going to do something in the area of medical supply.
Actually, the area they're looking in is at that business park. That's where the Ochsner Clinic is, near 73 and 61. They built a very nice building.
Yep.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Councilman Lemon?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mike, thank you for the report. On the land needs, have we addressed that? I'm looking at everything, look like it's 20 to 50 acres. Are we in competition here? Are we doing pretty well with that?
Well, I think we certainly improved with our site certification.
Okay.
We've got some more work to do. We are working on, and I skipped over that, I apologize. Continue to work on the Modest McCall area, and our board just passed yesterday the approved budget for what we call phase 2 due diligence on that 17,000 acres, which includes going in and doing some desktop wetlands evaluation, and also looking at the current situation as it regards utilities, potable water, wastewater, processed water, telecom, electricity, and where are we right now, and making projections of what needs to be done to make this a viable project. Also looking at making at least some preliminary look at making a transportation improvement in that area. Obviously, if we're going to turn that into a mega complex, the fact that we have 2-lane roads servicing it is not a good selling point. So we're going to start preliminary looking at making an improvement.
Good job.
Yes, thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Chair, good. Mr. Keg?
Mike, I just want to commend you and your staff on moving forward. I know that the state current session has put you guys in a pinch, put you in a bind. But in spite of all that, we do have the mighty Mississippi, which is a tremendous drawing card. You know that. I don't have to tell you. And just hopefully we can work through this pinch, as we might call it. But again, commend you and your staff for all the work you do.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate the update.
Thanks. Good evening.
We'll move on to number 9, intergovernmental agreement between the Parish of Ascension and Ascension Parish Law Enforcement District regarding construction on emergency communication towers. Mr. O'Neill?
Yes, this is just the agreement between the parish, the sheriff's department, and the communication district to allow them to build the emergency tower that we need for 911.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion by Mr. Johnson, second by Mr. Cagnolati. Any more discussion? Any objection? So moved. We'll move on to number 10, bid on the Ascension Parish Official Journal. This is Joan Shivers, Purchasing Director.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The police, juries, city and parish councils, municipal corporations, and school boards in all the parishes, the parish of Orleans excepted, at their first meeting in June of each year, shall select a newspaper as official journal for their respective parishes, towns, or cities for a term of 1 year. On May 17, 2016, the purchasing department received 1 bid for the right to act as the official journal. After review, the Ascension Parish Secretary recommends accepting the bid submitted by Gonzales Weekly Citizen and to authorize the parish president to enter into any applicable agreement or contract for this service.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Got a motion by Mr. Cagnolati. Councilman Cagnolati. Can I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Councilman Benny Johnson. Any discussion? Mr. Bill Dawson.
Thank you, Ms. Shivers. I just wanted to clarify is the reason that we had one respondent, is that because of the restrictions in the charter on this?
That's correct. In the law, there's a qualification. It says the newspaper shall have been published in an office physically located in the parish in which the body is located for a period of 5 years preceding the selection. And the advocate...
There's only one.
Yeah, only one qualified.
Newspaper to qualify.
That's correct.
Okay, thanks.
Any more discussion? Have a motion and a second. No objections? So moved. Thank you, Ms. Jones. I think you're going to stay up there on this next one. Number 11, approval of a RFQ Engineering Review Agency Service, project number ENG 16084. Ms. Joan Shivers.
On May 20th, 2016, the Purchasing Department received 4 proposals for the selection of an engineering review agency. The proposals were received, and the list is below, and it's sorted by ranking. After review, the non-engineering selection committee recommend accepting the proposals submitted by CSRS Incorporated and to authorize the parish president to begin contract negotiations for this service.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
I got a motion by Councilman Dempsey Lambert to move with CSRS.
Yes, CSRS.
Here a second. Second by Councilman Benny Johnson. Any discussion? Councilman Sadler?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome this evening, Joe. I don't know how, frankly, to get my arms around this evening. I have two issues with making a decision on this tonight. One is when we look in the code, and I refer to Section 281, Engineering Services and Technological Services Modified. In the subpart there, it talks about establishing Engineering and Technical Service Selection Board consisting of 5 members. The members of those boards are supposed to be a chief executive assistant for the parish president, which is Mr. Ken Dawson, who served on the committee. So I'm fine with that. After that, it sort of falls apart a little bit, or a great bit, depending on how you look at it. The second person that should be empaneled is the parish chief engineer. And I believe that person is Joey Turo, that was recently escalated to a department head or assistant department head status in DPW. So I question why he didn't sit in deliberation on this. Third is an expert, it says, in the field of engineering or technical services for which the service is sought. And that person is not an employee of the parish. In the past, I've seen civil engineers from LSU or Southern University serve. Number 4 is a Louisiana Department of Transportation Development Area Engineer, and obviously we didn't have that on the committee either. And 5, and last but not least, would be an expert in the field which the engineering or technical services sought. And a comment I'd make about that is that we just learned moments ago that Mr. Jerome Fourier is going to be our new planning development and director. It just follows, or it seems logical to me, that he would do well serving on such a committee with the 30 years of expertise he told us tonight he has. Further in that law, in Section 281, it talks about the appointment of the members, and it says that they shall be appointed, and this confuses me, maybe someone here tonight can help me, shall be appointed exclusively by the appointing agencies without the necessity of review or approval by the parish president, the governing authority, which is this parish council, or any parish department heads. So I'm curious as to how the people that were selected were empaneled. Now, I promised to behave tonight. There is a couple of people who served on this who will go nameless, because I promised them so, that have expressed, probably too strong to say discontent, but felt that they weren't overly qualified, being that they were not engineers, to be on this this committee. So as a result of that, I have that as a concern. My second concern is that while I did receive in the packet information, but only yesterday, and I've made this warning, and I know other of my colleagues have as well, it's tough to make these decisions when you have 24 hours or less of information, and even worse, if you don't have all the information I believe you need to have. Said another way, what I did receive is the 4 engineering firm responses, what I did receive is the scoring of this committee that I just said I believe is inappropriate, but I did not receive the actual 4 engineering firm responses. Now, everybody knows, like it or not, Doc Sadley performs statistical analyses to see if these committees can at least advise me so that I don't have to use a lot of discretionary authority, particularly if it's engineers doing engineering work, that they would be much more expert than I would be. Stat analysis is to see how they broke out. And in the case of the 4 respondents, which are CSRS, Forte and Tablada, Urban Systems, and Stewart, what I found was that there's a statistical dead heat again in the data between CSRS and Forte and Tablada. That said, no other pairwise comparison showed any of these companies different from one another, indicating that at least this committee that was empaneled can't find differences, with the exception that CSRS was considered superior to do what we asked them to do in the RFQ to both Stewart and to Urban Systems, I guess it was. But again, CSRS was not different than Forte and Tablata. Now, since there's a lot of speculation, and I emphasize that word, and a lot of public suspicion, and I want to emphasize that as well out there, particularly in the media, that CSRS has some sort of inside track, and I want to profess that I have no data to support that one way or another. I would, if I'm forced, offer Mr. Chairman a motion to substitute, just to err on the side of caution, Forte and Tablata, since they're statistically in a dead heat with CSRS. I believe that both could do an excellent, fine job. Or my preference, Mr. Chairman, would be that we defer this, sort of taking a page out of Councilwoman Castle's book last time when we had the RFQs for the owner's rep for sewer, where Ms. Castle informed us that night that there may have been an unfair advantage of one company over another, and that we should take our time, take a deep breath, let these guys do some more dog and pony shows, and then come back and make a selection, which we did, and I think that worked out as fine as it could. So I guess one option would be, and it would be my first, would be to defer, which would also allow then the 5 individuals that should be by Section 281 on this committee. Our new found employee, Mr. Jerome Fournier, I think he's left here this afternoon. Number 5 would be an expert in the field in which the engineering or technical support is sought. Certainly that would fit the bill, or we wouldn't be hiring him as a planning director, to fulfill Mr. Compton's previous role. So I don't know how to do this, Mr. Chairman. If we there may be other discussion, if you want to entertain that first, that's fine. I'm open to all that, but I would like to reserve the right to make a substitute motion before we vote on the motion that's on the table. And I thank everyone for listening.
All right. We'll let the discussion keep going, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you.
Councilman, Mr. Bill Dawson.
Well, could we get some answers on, I think that we did have some questions there about how the agency, how the review agency is established and how that's appointed. Can we?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Council. Okay, the selections, I know it says engineering review agent, which I think because engineering is the first word, it assumes that this process is strictly an engineering function. When we have large projects that are technically challenged, like the P3 selection or even some of the other big projects, that goes through an engineering firm. Our road projects, I mean, Highway 42, Highway 73, those are selection committees that are strictly of a technical nature. As Councilman Sally just said, having the expertise of somebody who would do the work. The new director is a geologist, not an engineer, but they would add to it. So in this process, we selected Lance Brock, we selected Laverne Bourgeois, people who have been doing this work for a considerable amount of time in the parish to be part of the selection process. Because the process focused on preliminary plats, final plats, construction drawing, and those kind of things to determine how they're reviewed and how they're actually finalized. And so that's why it was selected. It did not go through just strictly an engineering review committee. My assessment of that I felt that they were better, that these proposals would be better analyzed by those entities who perform that particular process 5 days a week. And that's their job function. So that's why I did not go to the engineering review.
Can I ask Mr. Parrington, the empanelment of that, it sounded like there was some prescription about who should be on that. Is that a problem?
No, it was determined that this was, when I met with the type of panel that they were going to discuss, and it went through the process of what they were selecting, it involves the building construction plans, and that's why they went to the non-engineering professional services. Technically, we, by law, selecting professional services does not even require advertising or any of that. We have a parish ordinance, and the administration reviewed what they were looking to hire, and they said this is better for non-engineering, and so they brought in the people that actually deal with that part of the process.
Could I ask one more?
Sure, you still have the
I
floor.
didn't get the.
You still have the floor,
I
Mr.
must
Bell.
have, I don't know, I missed the mail out on that, but what were the scores?
I can tell you the scores right here. CSRS was 396. Fort and Tablada was 365. Stewart Consulting Group was 318. And Urban Systems was 310.
Okay, thank you.
You finish up? Yes. Mr. Joseph?
My question is, since we're talking about this policy, this ordinance, do we have a policy and procedure that we can follow through? I mean, the ordinance is one thing, but how do your office operate, Mr. Dorsey, to give you that power to proceed in that way? And do we have something like that?
Yeah, I mean, the actual procedure, I mean, it's in the ordinance on how we go through the selection of the people on the committee and how they perform. This was the non-engineering selection committee that was convened to go through this process. And the process is because it was not of a technical project nature. It was more of an administrative and review function. It was the decision was made to go forward with it to the non-engineering.
So I just want to make myself clear on this. The ordinance is the procedure. Strictly, so according to Doc, I mean, you should have had an engineer on that.
I'm engineering.
I'm just saying the professional one that should come from Southern.
Yeah, if it was the engineering selection committee, everyone that seats on that have to be engineers. It was the engineering selection committee. This was not the engineering selection committee. It was the non-engineering selection committee, so they didn't have to be engineers. So if you go through the procedure that talks about non-engineering selection committee, there's a different process that we follow.
I would love to see that, if you can give me that information. But I can't, I know, but I don't recall that. Okay, I'm just be honest. I don't recall that. I like the policy and procedure. I know at one time we did have a policy and procedure specific for these situations and broke it down in those.
Yeah. And I think in what you're referring to, Councilman Joseph, it has both the engineering and the non-engineering selection committee in that policy and procedure.
Right.
Okay.
So I just don't recall that being in that order.
We'll get it, sir.
Okay?
Finish up.
Thanks.
Councilman Joseph? Councilman Sadler?
Yes, thank you. Try to use my second term wisely and not violate Robert's Rules of Order and have this go on and on, since it doesn't seem like a lot of the folks want to speak. But let me just reiterate. I think this is very, very simple if we consider two things, two words. We have impaneled a non-engineering selection committee to select, let's put those words in quote, non-engineering selection committee, a quote, put these words in quotes, an engineering review agency, not a non-engineering review agency. And with all due respect to the explanation just offered by our CEA, I do see some of the elements he talks about, but I disagree that there's more administration and review functions in this RFQ. In fact, what I do see is 18 items, and I would ask everybody to take a look at that. And they're broad strokes. They're inclusive of, frankly, just about everything we do in this parish. Roads, drainage, sewer, bond issuance, finance, even the word impact fees is mentioned. And we learned tonight that the new guy coming, Mr. Jerome Fournier, again, our newly hired planning and development director, is an expert in the area of impact fees. So I'm going to have to stand steadfast, and when the discussion is over, Mr. Chairman, still reserve the right to at least try for a substitute motion this evening, unless we're in some sort of, someone convinced me, breakneck mode to hire a company tonight. I think we need to take a deep breath and think very strongly about what we're doing. And I thank you all again for listening.
O'Neill, as far as what you see here tonight, it's nothing, everything's according to our ordinances.
Yes.
Way administration
It's in
made that.
compliance with the ordinance.
Pick their review. Okay. Just to make it clearer. Mr. Dawson? Sure.
I just want to say that we initially had looked at this going to finance first, but we are kind of in a breakneck situation. I think that no one here has gotten any complaints about the timeliness in which reviews have been coming out. I can say that we have not gotten any calls in the office, I mean, it seems that the developers and engineering firms are very pleased with, at least they're getting their reviews done, and it's coming. So if we don't get this done, it will, you know, prolong the process, you know, quite a bit. So we're going to start developing a backlog again. We have no one on staff at this point that's doing that work. I think all of you know Mr. Bob Turner, who retired several times from the parish, came back and helped us several times, has thusly retired again. So he's no longer here. Ms. Rhonda Bro, who was doing the actual drainage reviews, has now been moved to stormwater because of some loss of some personnel, and we are required by law to make sure that we do stormwater reviews. So we have to rely on outside agencies to do that work at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson.
I'll leave my motion as thing.
Okay, Councilman Aaron?
Yeah, I'm
Lawler?
sorry. What is the effect if the work is not done? I mean, you'd indicated that there could be a delay. There's one thing to have a delay. There's another thing, excuse me, I'm sorry. If the work isn't done.
You're gonna start having a backlog on the reviews. I mean, we've been having about a 2-week turnaround, which is when this body adopted an increased fee. One of the commitments was that there would be a turnaround in the review cycle that would be suitable, and we felt that 2 to 3 weeks. So we've been meeting that. If we don't have it, we just have to. We have no more funds to do any work, okay? And so we just have to halt, any reviews at this point. So we just start creating a backlog on our plat reviews, our final construction reviews, so that any developments that had a timeline to get it done, it's just going to stop the process.
Does this? We have a legal requirement
It's
to act
60
on
days.
plans.
Yes.
That's the issue.
That's kind of what I was getting at. We have a
Yes, we have a
60-day
legal requirement. Upon submission, you got 30 days to act.
Okay, 30 days. Does this also affect like individuals who want to do renovations to their homes, things of that sort?
I don't know, Lance, you want to answer about the renovations?
I don't think it.
No, it would not. But what it would do is any commercial jobs or any commercial development that occurs, they have to do a drainage analysis, a drainage study. It could hold those jobs up, any commercial jobs that come in, because every commercial job has to have a drainage study done on their property based on the drainage ordinance. So yes, it would hold those jobs up.
And if I can be clear, Mr. Parrington, you may help me with this. If we don't get it done within the prescribed time period, what is the result?
It's approved. Whether it's approved, it's got to be approved.
Regardless,
Yes.
without an engineering review at all.
Yeah.
No
She finished with
Yeah,
that.
I apologize.
Ms. Castle?
Yeah, I just want to share my concern. I have some agreement with Councilman Satterley. I would rather see, if we're going to have a request for an engineering review, agency services, that we have an engineering review committee do it. It just makes sense to me, and I think it makes sense to the public, unless we can present a better argument that this is non-engineering. And when you look at all of this stuff, unfortunately, when I look at it, there's a lot of engineering in here. I don't know that a non-engineering person a non-engineer would feel qualified to make this kind of decision. So I share some concerns. I also understand that this is probably not make or break, and certainly I think that both of the companies who were rated high are outstanding companies, and CSRS by reputation and by word that I've received of late has been doing an outstanding job in plan review. So I just want to caution the administration that we shouldn't even happen to have this discussion. This should make sense. And if it doesn't, then we need to be educated. And so does the public about how a non-engineering review committee can select an engineering review agency. It just doesn't quite fit for most of us who are not engineers. Now, engineers may get it. They may. I don't. It seems to me that we should have had an engineering selection committee take a look at this. So I still don't know. I'm still listening to my fellow members of the council and trying to make a decision here about how I feel. But I did want to express that I have concerns about this.
Councilman Johnson?
Lance, maybe you can help with a question. So we got it as an engineering review agency, and maybe it's a wording issue. I think that if I'm putting this out there wrong, Ms. Casso's dead on. If we need to educate ourselves as well as the public, what skill set is brought to bear by this? Obviously, it's an engineering firm that we're hiring to do this, but I mean, are we putting engineers to work? We putting architects to work? Who are we putting to work to review these plans? And
To review the plans, it could be either, but majority is engineers.
okay, so from that standpoint of view, but we do put multiple people to task on this thing, correct? Multiple
sir.
crafts. It's not just engineers in there.
Correct, yes, sir.
So I guess, is that the reason, and maybe Mr. Dawson's the only one can answer that question, or parish president, so is that the reason we went the route of a non-engineering selection committee as far as doing it, because we bring multiple skill sets to the task?
Yes, I think that you're correct, Councilman Johnson. It's several skill sets that are brought to the task, not something that's specifically of an engineering design and planning process. It's not a design of a project. It's not a design of a road. It's not the design of a building. It's a review of plans. It's a review of understanding the codes and ordinances as it applied to that. Now, there's still some work that has to be done on the transportation review side, on the drainage review side. So that's why it was important that we included, you know, Mr. Brock and Mr. Bourgeois in that process of review, because it was my place that in my thinking, someone who performs that task daily in Ascension Parish, it's important for them to be a part of that decision-making process, especially with all the kind of issues we've had in planning and zoning department. To get a engineer just to do it, in my opinion, it wouldn't be all that we needed. Okay, from the technical aspect, I mean, you had an engineer on the review panel. I'm an engineer, so you had that, but you also had the skill sets of Lance Brock, the skill set of Laverne Bourgeois. We also, because we have impact fees we're going through, we had a finance component on it as well, because we wanted to make sure that from an administrative standpoint that we were viewing every aspect of the process. And every aspect of the process is not simple engineering. Engineering and the technical part is one aspect of that whole process. These guys do a whole lot in just addressing the public from the codes and ordinances standpoint as well. So we just wanted to make sure we had a full view from the administrative side in making a decision.
So is it fair to say that with Lance and Laverne on there, especially from the planning and zoning department, they review other types of plans that are brought in that basically, in some cases, family petitions or other things that may have some of the similar issues that these guys are being asked to review in the base, so they're bringing a certain level of expertise that would help to have a good knowledge of going through and deciphering the RFQ that was presented before. It's not like we're putting people there that have no ability to make a decision or no past experience or training to look at an RFQ like this, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? If not,
One more comment.
Wait, hang on. If you was planning on making your motion, I want to let everybody know.
No, I'm going to make a comment.
You got a comment?
Yeah,
Okay,
what
go
Benny
ahead.
Johnson just said.
Go ahead. Councilman Sal.
Councilman Johnson was talking about and I think Mr. Dawson is concluding that's correct, that several different skill sets were used in this non-engineering committee, and that's a positive thing. Yet I remind you in my first remarks, two folks have expressed to me who served on the committee that they were uncomfortable, and I promised I won't out them, I won't, in sharing on a committee. So obviously, in serving on the committee, they don't feel that way. And we also take up the remark Mr. Dawson said about, you know, if we don't pick, we need to be in a hurry. My comment about breakneck, picking someone tonight, CSRS, Forte de Plata, whoever, that we would essentially halt. I would ask this council and everyone to consider, what is our normal way of doing this? Normally, we advertise 3 times. In the Citizen, the Advocate, and the chief, who we've just picked as our official news paper for another year tonight. Yet to my knowledge, this particular RFQ was advertised once and once only on the 12th of May. Then, while we were in Jackson Hole last week on the 27th of May, just about 2 weeks later, this non-engineering committee, appropriate or not, met. And here we are tonight to consider and have to pick a winner and vote again on, I don't even have the proposals, and I've got a statistical tie. I have an inappropriate committee, and I've got committee members telling me they don't want to even be serving because they don't feel like they have the expertise. Now, I know we're behind an 8 ball a little bit here, but how did that happen? It's no secret. One of our engineers, Mr. Bob Turner, was fired. He may deserve to be fired. I don't know, and it's not my business. That's for the administration to do, and that's what they did.
No, Mr. Bob resigned.
Not Turner, Mr. Horner. I misspoke. I'm sorry. What we did, and while we did hear Mr. Turner's fixing to leave to go to Missouri. Mr. Compton was fired, reinstated, then resigned. Planner Ben Moran, which we heard tonight, we're not sure whether we're going to do anything with that right away. Wait a little bit for Mr. Jerome Fournier, just hired to come back. Our planner's not with us anymore. So yeah, we're behind an 8 ball because of all these things that are happening. But we need to be sure this is $250,000 of the taxpayers' money that we pick the right firm to do this job. And I feel ill prepared tonight, and I'd question how my colleagues can make a vote tonight on a proposal that they, unless they've seen something I didn't want in my packet, I haven't seen the proposals of any one of these 4 companies. Fortune DeBlata, CSRS, Urban, or Stewart. And the statistical tie is a big issue for me because I'm like, okay, whether it's an appropriate committee or not, they've recommended that CSRS and Fortune DeBlata are equally able to do the job. How do I know we're not slighting someone in our parish by picking someone? So that's the last comments I'm going to make, I promise, Mr. Chairman, and if you want me to give the substitute motion, I'll do so now.
Parish President.
First of all, Mr. Sally, I wish you'd quit bringing up past employees, which has nothing to do with this tonight.
I think it has.
I don't think it does, okay, but that's your opinion, okay?
Right.
Now, we're trying to move this parish forward. I did not select anybody on the committee. I have no dog in the hunt. We have companies like Fortune DeBlata has done 3 or 4 parishes. CSRS has done work for Ascension before. We also use them for consulting. And any, process that we're going to look at all of our processes, I promise you, but no intention of doing anything wrong was done. I think it's a good company. That's up to you what you want to do. We also been using them for consulting. Probably every other day we call them about things, but it's up to y'all. Now, I'm not telling y'all who to vote for or to vote. It's up to y'all. Thanks.
Councilman Long.
Just from looking at this, I believe it's more than just a semantics issue. I think this is an engineering, it would have been appropriate to have an engineering review panel for this. No offense to the panel that was put in place, but I think it could have been a stronger panel if we had people from outside of the parish with the universities that would have made this go stronger. Now, I think the companies that we have to choose from are strong companies. We have good options here. Unfortunately, I just think that the process was done incorrectly. This is clearly a lot of engineering work, and I don't think it ever does us any harm if we choose the strongest panel to review people. And I think in this situation, we chose a panel that maybe could have been more engineering-centric, which would have helped us more in this. My question is, and I shouldn't ramble on like that, if we decide not to take action tonight, are there plans that will be approved without action if we postpone this for 2 weeks?
We have to look at that, Councilman. We weren't prepared to discuss it, so we just have to go back and look to see if some would go through. And just another thing, Fortune DeBlata and CSRS has previously done work as a review agent for this parish. I mean, they have been here doing the same thing. And one other thing I'm going to say that I mean, the two strongest companies, and I think everybody who has familiar with those companies recognize how strong they are. Yet without an engineers on there, you still had the quality staff that still can select two of the strongest engineering companies to do the process. And so I still stand by it. And thirdly, no one on that review committee stated to me, and as far as my knowledge to the president, and as far as my knowledge, the acting director of planning and zoning, that they had an issue participating. If they had, we would have removed them and replaced them. But nobody stated to me that they had that issue.
And I agree. They are strong companies. I'm not taking issue with that. I just think the process could be made stronger for the public's benefit, to give more confidence to the public. That's all I'm saying.
Mr. Dawson, one question for you is, if we was to delay this, what would be the time frame to come up with another engineering review committee?
I guess it depends on how the council wants to proceed. If the council,
just kind of giving us a timeline, that's why I'm kind of.
If you want us to re-advertise and go out for, more submissions, then that's going to be, another several weeks process of advertisement, submission of the proposals, and then a review. If you want to review the proposals that's submitted and be submitted to the council, and the council make a decision, then you can possibly do it quicker. So however you'd like to proceed in this is going to be, up to the council to decide.
Okay. Thank you. Councilman Joseph?
Yeah, currently they have a $50,000 agreement with us currently right now.
And we're about out of that money.
All right, but once again, I'm just looking for option.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right, Councilman.
This council could give them another additional where they be doing the work, or additional $20,000 in the budget or something like that.
Probably consists. We at the limit. I think they require. They can vote to go. So you can vote to go.
If that is the issue with time, and I just, one option is we can add some more funds to them until we can work out this issue what we have here, how the process is done. That gives you some time, and the work won't stop. The department, the administration will still be, moving forward until you decide what direction y'all want to go.
Councilman Dawson?
I just say legal just told us.
I'm gonna call a question on this thing. We need to move on. This is just,
You can extend the
people so
contract.
far behind.
For over 50,000?
Yes. Under the circuit. What are you gonna do? Unless you operate without one, but you have the authority to extend it.
That didn't go out for RFQ.
You've got an RFQ pending right now. If you want to, in a situation now where you want to do it, you have a contract with somebody, you can extend the contract.
Councilman Dawson, yes.
Well, I just have a couple of comments. One, I think the $250,000, am I not mistaken that that's going to be paid by the developers, and that's a reimbursable amount, is that correct?
Yes, sir. And let me just explain. Councilman Johnson and I talked about that a little bit today. $250,000 was put in the budget because, our finance department said that in order to go out to RFQ, it had to. According to the monies that we're currently receiving, that this council doubled the fees last year, that is enough. And according to our initial financial analysis, 72% of the fees collected will be used currently to do a massive amount of work that's consistent with the volume that we have now coming in. The other 20-something% will be used for the staff, for administration, of that function. So the concern that this is costing the parish extra money, I can tell you, is the best situation we've been in financially to have this process done since I've been here.
Okay. The second thing is that, I agree with you that the people that you had review this were the right people. Okay, so, having had some experience over the last 40 years with this, is that if you get a strictly technical review, you may get what you ask for, and you may get somebody that's very good technically, but this is not what this entails. So I'm very comfortable with the process that you did.
Mr. Chairman, me and Mr. Dawson had spoke briefly about the committee, and when he told me that he thought we ought to do Lance and all of that, I said, well, whatever you think, if it doesn't need to be engineering, so you can talk with O'Neill, And that's why we went that way. But, you know, whatever y'all want to do is fine. I want you to know that even though we are almost out of the 50,000, it's not like we lost that 50,000. We, you know, we got monies from,
Coming
you know,
in
from
from-
the companies. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Ben. Councilman Johnson?
One other question, and more on the lines for, I guess, for just information for folks to, we put this process in about 8 years ago, if I remember correct, 7 or 8 years ago, as far as doing engineering selection and we've tried several times in the past to bring engineers from Southern and LSU and other places onto the board to do some of these review committees. We've had a tough time getting them. I mean, we really struggled. There's been several that we've worked real hard to get folks involved with it. And so it's not as easy as saying just call up LSU or Southern and ask for sending an engineer down here to help us out with it. It's just, I don't disagree that whenever we set up an engineering selection committee, we need to work as hard as we can to get that. But if you can't get folks to participate in that, do you just stop doing any kind of review committee? It's part of the thing. You got to eventually got to do the work.
Exactly. Councilman Joseph?
I just want to respond back to Mr. Johnson comment. And Mr. Johnson, you're correct. And that's why this ordinance is kind of leave them tied up the way they worded it.
Right.
And policy and procedure, if they had in policy and procedure language, would have gave them that right of way with this leeway. And I feel that we don't have that policy and procedure to give them that leeway. All we have is an ordinance according to legal as of tonight. Okay? So, I mean, we basically trapped our own self in this situation on wording. That's just me.
Any more discussion? I'll let Councilman Satterley.
Yes, thank you. Prefacing remark before making the motion. The comment about LSU or Southern, it's not easy to do. Horse hockey. I'm a 30-some-odd year retired state employee from Louisiana State University. LSU is state funded. I promise you their professors of civil engineering in any department would be compelled by their department heads, deans, provosts, assistant directors, you name it, chancellors, the president of the system, to come and help this parish, and to do so free of charge. That's how they get promotion and tenure, P&T as we called it in the trade, and go climb up the academic ladder. So, and I made this offer before in the previous administration with Mr. Martinez. I'll make it again tonight with the new administration of Mr. Matassa. If we're having any trouble at all, I'll be glad to go with you and speak to these people, and I will almost guarantee you we're going to get someone on this committee. That being said, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to defer this item until which time a, quote, engineering professional service selection committee, unquote, consistent with our law, section 2-82, be impaneled, properly advertised, the RFQ, and then the scoring recommendations that comes from this properly impaneled, proper panel, bring their recommendation back to the council for vote. And also, please, Mr. Chairman, in the motion, I would like to see that we get a copy of the RFQ responses so that if a professional engineering committee cannot separate differences that, as Mr. Lawler said, are more engineering centric, we can at least better use our discretionary authority to try to figure out which winner do we want to pick. That's my motion.
Okay, I have a substitute motion on the floor to defer until a new committee is picked to review these RFQs. Do I hear a second on the floor?
I'm going to second that to allow my fellow councilman to vote. I would like
Got
to
a
see
second by Mrs. Gasso.
Thank you.
Roll call. Senator?
Councilman Joseph? No. Councilman Dawson?
No.
Councilman Turner?
No.
Councilman Satterley?
Yes.
Councilman Dempsey Lambert?
No.
Councilman Lawler?
Yes.
Councilwoman Casso?
Yes.
Councilman Cagnolati?
No.
Councilman Johnson?
No.
Looks like 6 nays and 3 yeas, so the motion has failed. We'll move on to the original motion made by Councilman Dempsey Lambert, second by Councilman Benny Johnson, to move forward with CSRS. Any opposition? Discussion?
Discussion. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to offer a substitute motion that Forte and Tablata, for the reasons I discussed earlier, be selected. This is a very difficult thing for me to do, but I'd rather side on the cautionary side.
Okay, we have one more substitute motion to move with Fort and Tablata. Do I hear a second? Lack of a second, that motion fails. We'll move back to the original motion to select CSRS as our review agent. Any opposition? So moved. We'll move on to number 12, introduction of ordinances. To declare surplus and authorize the sale and or transfer of miscellaneous movable equipment, pumper truck, and international tanker. This is just an introduction.
Motion to introduce.
We got a motion to introduce by Councilman Johnson, second by Councilwoman Casso. Any discussion? Objections? So moved. Number 3 is another introduction to create the West Ascension Recreation Facility District Number 1 of the Parish of Ascension, State of Louisiana, to be comprised of the entire territory of the Parish of Ascension west of the Mississippi River.
So move.
Got a motion to introduce by Councilman Joseph, second by Councilman Bill Dawson. Any discussion? Any opposition? So move. Move on to number 14, one more introduction to amend the Ascension Parish Unified Land Development Code to provide costs incurred for additional plat and plan reviews. Here a motion to introduce. Introduced by Councilman John Cagney, second by Councilwoman Cazo. Any discussion? Any opposition? So moved. Reading of the public hearing ordinance. Reading of ordinance SR 16-07, revision to the subdivision regulations in the United Land Development Code pertaining to wetlands determination. O'Neill.
Purpose of this ordinance is to revise the language of section 17406 and section 174012 and appendix of subdivision regulations, Unified Land Development Code, to address the submission of wetlands determinations. Whereas the Ascension Parish local government subdivision is defined by Article 6, Section 44 of the Louisiana Constitution 1974. Whereas the Parish of Ascension is the governing and responsible body within the jurisdiction. Whereas the Article 6 of the Home Rule Charter of Ascension Parish adopted May 4th, 1993 identifies the process and manner which should adopt ordinances regulating the lands of this parish. Whereas the code was incorporated in Appendix 4, the subdivision regulations of the Parish Unified Land Development Code adopted October 2nd, 2014. Be it ordained the Ascension Parish governing authority of Section 17406 and 174012 and Appendix 4 of the Unified Land Development Code is hereby amended as follows. These changes are adopted as follows. See Appendix 4, Section 17406 and 17412, Exhibit 1. In the event any portion of the ordinance is ever held invalid or unconstitutional for any reason by any court of competent jurisdiction over it, such portion shall be deemed separate, distinct, and independent provisions and shall not affect the validity of remaining portions of the ordinance. This ordinance shall be full effect as permitted by law. The exhibits are Appendix 4, Sections 17406 and 17412. The adoption of it submitted to a vote. The vote thereon was as follows.
Here, a vote to open the public hearing.
Motion to open public hearing.
Got a motion by Councilwoman Cazo, second by Councilman Cagney.
Motion to close.
Got a motion to close by Councilman Satterley.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Cazo. Motion on the ordinance.
Move the ordinance.
Moved ordinance by Councilman Satterley. Second by Councilman Long. Any discussion, Mr. Bill Dawson?
Is there somebody to answer a question?
I do. I can answer. That's the process we've been following for the last 8 years, so we just went back and fixed the ordinance.
That wasn't a question.
Oh, okay. I'll tell you.
Well, that's a good answer.
The answer, okay. The reason, that's why the reason legal proposed the amendment, because of that.
I wanted to, maybe Lance can answer this, but I see in here it says the wetlands delineation will be by a qualified consultant. Who determines who's qualified and what those qualifications are?
not sure. But I know that in the ones in the past that we've gotten, they've actually they are qualified to make those determinations through the Corps, I would take it. They have to have through classes and those type of things that the Corps gives in order for them to make those determinations.
Well, I
for
know
those.
there are qualifications if you're going to do a determination. but this is a
Delineation also.
delineation.
Yes, sir. They have to go through the same thing, I'm pretty sure.
So why didn't we spell that out? I mean,
I'm not sure.
I'm not gonna propose a revision, but it's just, normally you'd say how they're qualified.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No more discussion? Any objection on the motion? So moved. Number 18 is reading of ordinance to move voting precinct number 34 from Sorrento Town Hall to Sorrento Community Center.
To relocate precinct 34 from Sorrento Town Hall to Sorrento Community Center located at 7417 Main Street, Sorrento, Louisiana. Whereas the Central Community Center has recently renovated and will be provided more spacious area for voters as well as more parking area. Whereas the Sorrento Community Center has an accessibility survey on file with the State Secretary's office and approved as a polling precinct. Therefore, be it ordained that the Central Parish Council hereby moves precinct 34 to Sorrento Town Hall to the Sorrento Community Center located at 7471 Main Street, Sorrento, Louisiana. Be it further ordained that a certified copy of this ordinance be sent to the Louisiana Secretary of State, P.O. Box 94125, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, 70804-9125. The ordinance has been submitted to a vote. The vote thereon was as follows.
Open public comment.
We got a motion to open the public hearing by Councilman Sadler, second by Councilman Cagnolati.
Motion to close.
Anyone want to speak? Motion to close by Councilman Sadler, second by Councilman Cagnolati.
Move the ordinance.
Got a motion moved to ordinance by Councilman Johnson,
Second.
second by Councilwoman Cazzo. Any discussion? Any objections? So moved.
Councilman, just for the record, that was requested by the town of Sorrento so they could use their community center.
Correct. Good. Number 20, ordinance to move voting precinct. Well, that's it. Let me back up. Reading of ordinance to amend Chapter 13 occupational license taxes and regulations to add Article 12 transportation network services of the Ascension Parish Code of Ordinances.
To amend Chapter 13 occupational licenses, taxes, and regulations to add Article 12 transportation network services of the Ascension Parish Code of Ordinances, whereas Section 602 enactment of an ordinance permits the parish to make and amend an ordinance as it may deem necessary and proper for good government in order to protection for the purposes and property for the preservation of public health, safety, and welfare of the parish and its inhabitants. Whereas the Parish Council of the Parish of Ascension desires to amend and supplement Chapter 13, Section 12, Transportation Network Services of the Code of the Parish of Ascension, Louisiana, to regulate transportation network operators. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the Ascension Parish Governing Authority of the Parish of Ascension that Chapter 13 be added as further described in Exhibit A attached here to and made a part of this hereof. In the event any section, subsection, sentence, clause, phrase, or portion of this ordinance or any reason is held invalid or unconstitutional by any court of competent federal or state agency of competent jurisdiction, such portion shall be deemed a separate, distinct, and independent provision, and such holding shall not affect the valid and remaining portions of the ordinance. The effective date of this ordinance will be in full effect as permitted by law. The ordinance has been submitted to a vote. The vote thereon was as follows.
Open public comment.
Got a motion to open the public hearing by Councilman Satterley, second by Councilman Cagnolati.
Motion to close.
A motion to close by Councilman Satterley, second by Councilman Lawler. Got a motion on the ordinance by Councilman Lawler, second by Councilman Benny Johnson. Any discussion? Any opposition? So moved. We'll move to number 24. Motion to adjourn. Cagnolati, second by Councilwoman Castro. No opposition? So moved. Y'all be safe on your way home. Thank you.